Hello, 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 and welcome to Survivor Debrief on this very, very special episode. Yes, we're doing an official season debrief. Now, my name is Eden Porter, the unlucky loser from Titans versus Rebels, but I have with me to do her official debrief, the very lovely Laura. Thank you very much for joining us, Laura. Lovely to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. Don't call yourself a loser. Don't even do that. Absolutely not. You live in the heart of fans forever.
Well, that is very, very kind. Well, we know the season is over. Everything's in the books. But what we love chatting about Survivor here at Survivor Debrief. So we thought we would give an opportunity from some of our castmates from the last season to have their own debrief. And we're going to touch on a few things like our casting journey, some key moments from the season, as well as for yourself, the jury and the final tribal council. So a lot to get in. Just start off, how are you going, Laura, after everything's finished?
I'm so good. I'm really, really happy to have some time to rest. No more anxiety of, I wonder what this episode will look like, or, oh my gosh, I look crazy, I haven't slept in 3 days. So yeah, I'm feeling really, really good. It's all being wrapped up in a nice, big, beautiful bow. So it's great.
Fantastic. So let's start things off, my friend, and let's go all the way back. Let's rewind back to before we knew about Laura the White Witch. This is before you graced our screens. Let's talk a little bit about casting. So what I'm sure a lot of our fans would know, what do you feel got you on the show? What got you over that hump of applying and not getting on to actually getting on?
So I spent a long time applying, and I think when I was applying previously, I was giving kind of a bland version of myself. Just, I can be everything. You never know what the season theme is going to be. So I was always applying with, I can be everything to everyone, and I'm the most well-rounded person you'll ever meet. And we all know I love manifesting. So I knew I needed some help. So I manifested King George. And I found my way, 5 degrees of separation. I found my way to King George. And I remember it so vividly. I had a call with him in my car, hands shaking about how can I separate myself when applying. And he goes, I'm stalking your Instagram. I'm looking at your Instagram to see what you look like. And he said to me, you're a pretty blonde, but what? What's the but? You need something different. You need something that's going to help you stand out. You need to either fit into an archetype or break the archetype. You need to figure out what your butt is. And kind of hung up. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out what my butt is, I guess. And I just kept thinking about all the things that made me different. I'm sitting in my room with my 250 crystals and my yoga mat and my manifesting journals. I'm thinking, what makes me different? Yeah, right? And so I thought, I love the term witch. I love what it means to women in history. I love what it sparks in me. I love what it sparks in other people. So I think I'm gonna call myself a good white witch and just really show how I can read people, the tools that I use to read people. And I did my whole application all about my manifesting and getting to where I am, because I have manifested everything that has come to me. And I think I went in with a level of confidence, which was really helpful of, I'm different and no one's going to be as bold as I am. And they really took to it and they absolutely loved it. So yeah, you do the whole application, and then I did a Zoom interview, and that was really helpful. I talked about my tarot cards, and I remember in the application, I called myself a cosmic serpent. And they were like,
oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, cosmic serpent. Yes.
They were like, what does that mean? And I was like, I'm going to slither my way through the tribe. I'm going to be friends with everyone. I'm going to be gaining information. And I think using those little kind of tidbits, those names for yourself, it will present really well on screen, which I kind of knew at the time as well. And yeah, King George, he helped me get from the bottom to the top, which was just amazing. So yeah, I did all of that stuff, and then I got a call saying that I was the standby for the season. I was not going to go on.
I feel your pain.
I know. It is just the most gut-dropping feeling, and I'm saying, what's the likelihood? What's the percentages? Give me something to hold on to. And I needed a female brain to drop out. And have you heard this story about what I did? My manifest.
No, continue. Let's put it all out.
I didn't want to wish harm on anyone. You think all the reasons someone's going to drop out of a show like Survivor, it's an injury, they're going to, their family. I didn't want to wish harm on anyone. So I wish that they got pregnant, that this woman that's always wanted to be pregnant finally gets pregnant. And that, she has to drop out because she has to, this is what she's always wanted. And I got a call the next day saying that I was on. So that's crazy. I remember crawling in my house, like crying with
Yeah.
happiness, crawling to my parents, being like, I got it, I got it, I got it. And it was
That's
just, yeah, from like
incredible.
potentially one of the worst moments of my life, hearing that I lost my dream and I was so
Yeah,
close,
so close.
to like the best moment of my life 5 days later.
Oh, that's so good. Now, it's interesting you say that because about having a through line, because I also think that's really important. And so all through your application, your written part and your interviews and stuff, it's really important to have that really strong understanding of who you are and what your character is, and put that through the entire through line of your application. Or it's you just pepper that stuff in, and it all comes back to that, and it just reinforces that concept of who you are, because it's got
Yes.
to be strong. Like you said, it can't be I'm a little bit of this, but I'm also this and this and this, because then you don't. It's not clear in the casting agent's mind who exactly you are. Oh, we know who Laura is. She's the White Witch. She's the Cosmic Serpent.
Yes.
It's such a good sell there. So
Yes.
that's fantastic.
They
I love
need
it.
to have a little like package for you that you need to be describable. You need to have an elevator pitch, or you need to fit a mold or completely break the mold. Miles is like a financial analyst that pole dances. Like it's such a perfect bow of they're interesting. And I think that if you can figure out what your kind of punch is, and then just keep, going for it over and over and over again, and how your character is going to help you in the strategy of it, in the physicality of it all. I think if you can find something that is going to be the best kind of, like I've said, bow for them to just go, here's a package and it's perfect. That's
Yeah.
what the casting agent wants.
Yeah, I think juxtaposition is really good. Like
Yeah.
I'm this, but I'm also the opposite. Like
Yeah.
I'm a truck driver, but I love knitting, and that's gonna like that those sort of things that they can't quite tell that like that's really good and really quite interesting. But I think the other thing that really comes to fruition, and maybe someone falls into it, and you haven't mentioned this, people sometimes get a little too involved in their job, and I'm of the understanding your job didn't really come up in your application, like, hey, I do this and stuff like that. So it is sometimes people go, oh, this is my job and this is how my job's going to help me with Survivor. But sometimes people are pitching the job, why the job is good at Survivor, not why you in that job or you as a person will be good at Survivor. And I think maybe
Yes.
that's something that people fall into a lot, where they
Yeah.
just go, I'm a lawyer, so I know how to talk to people, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
this, that, and that. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. It wasn't even to do with your job at all. It was like, this is
No.
the thing I'm going to touch on. So that's really
Yeah.
great.
I think as a society, we've kind of put so much pressure on what we do for work, but that sometimes that's not the most interesting thing about you.
Yeah.
Like your life
Yes.
outside of it and how you perceive the world is sometimes the most interesting thing about you. So if you do have a job that like a lot of other people have, that's probably not something that, you'd want to push in an application, because they're probably seeing like
Many of
hundreds
them,
of
yeah.
tradies.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
probably
yeah.
seeing a lot of people that have, a common job. So sometimes it's the most unique things about you, that the things that you keep hidden, the things that you, often wouldn't show to the world, they're usually the most interesting things about you.
Yeah, love it. Preparation then. What preparation did you do? So you got the call, you were told, yes, you're on the show. Then immediately your brain's probably going, okay, what do I need to do to give myself the best chance out there? What were the sort of things you were doing?
So, as I said, I love to manifest. So, I was manifesting for a really long time. And look, hindsight, I would not suggest anyone do what I'm saying I did, because it was the worst preparation ever. But I wanted to show the universe that I really wanted to go on Survivor. So, I ate a lot of rice. And when I say I was just
No.
eating rice, I was just eating rice. Girls at work would be like, have you got anything else today? And I'd just eat rice with my fingers. Don't do it.
That
Because
is amazing.
there is nothing that can prepare you for the starvation that you go through on Survivor. And just starving myself on rice did nothing.
Not help.
You cannot train to stand on pegs for that long. I genuinely
No.
don't think you can.
Yeah.
You cannot train for the starvation that you go through. So a lot of the prep that I did was really helpful, and then some of it was just silly. A bit of something that you'd consider silly that actually was helpful was I slept on the ground.
Oh, you
Um,
did?
I
Yeah.
did. I slept on the ground, and that was helpful because when we got out there for the first couple of days, people go, "Oh, my back really hurts," and it started
Yeah.
seizing up. But my back seize happened when I was at home, and I got used to it. My
Comfort
back
of your
is
floor. Yeah.
okay because your back kind of does go through. Oh, I'm sleeping on a different surface. I haven't got my pillow. I haven't got my blankets. And that actually was helpful. That was something a bit woo-woo that actually was helpful.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And so you're on the floor in your room
I was
with
on
your
a like wooden floors, freezing, and it's like cold in Melbourne, so cold. But
yeah.
it actually weirdly helped, because I
That's great.
was sleeping probably one of the most out of everybody on the entire cast. I was
You got the
sleeping
most sleep.
probably.
Oh, that's good. That is good though. Your brain functions better when when you can sleep a little bit.
It does. There's actually a very funny scene where we're naming the merge tribe,
Yeah.
and it cuts to me walking down going, "What is it?" Because there's a whole chat happening and I'm not in it because I'm still
Because of
sleeping.
sleeping.
And they're telling me the name of the tribe. I'm going, "Oh, that's
Okay.
nice. That's nice. Had nothing to do with the naming of it because I was asleep." Um,
Oh, that's great.
so yes, I did that. I did do Pilates.
Oh, you
I
did? Yep.
found that was really, really helpful to do some like core stuff. I did a lot of weights, a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
like deadlifting things because those challenges are heavy,
Yeah.
and I knew they'd be heavy. And I know that I'm not going to be able to crawl through small spaces. That's just not my body type. I can't stand on those pegs for a really long time. So I knew what I had to bring to the tribe, and I
Mm.
thought potentially a brainy, nerdy group of people was some strength.
Yep.
So I did a lot of weights, a lot of weight training. I made sure that I could deadlift my own weight.
That's a good
And
one. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, like making sure that I could at least carry my own weight. I couldn't hang my own weight, but I definitely could, like I'd suggest to try to. I couldn't try to in that length of time. But I did get to the point where I could deadlift my own weight and I could carry my own weight. So that was really helpful.
Yep.
I did a lot of reading on group psychology and
Oh, yeah.
manipulation and manipulation tactics.
Yep.
They're helpful to a point, but I do think if you were to go one step too far, you are going down the AJ route of like ChatGPT, how to talk to someone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good.
So I do think that was helpful to a point. That was helpful to make initial really strong bonds with people.
Mm.
And then, yeah, I think the prep is really helpful to a point, but then you have to play the board, play who's in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think strengthening your own point of view is probably like the best thing that anyone could do for prep.
Mm.
But yeah, in terms of physical prep, I did, Pilates, weights, don't eat just rice. It just doesn't work.
No.
And then a couple days before, like I hold on to weight like so quickly. So I just like started eating like junk food a couple days before so that I could like start putting on some weight,
Yes.
so that I felt comfortable losing it and wasn't as starving as a lot of other people.
Yeah, that's a good one. Is there anything that you wish someone had told you to do before you went? Like having experienced the game now, is there something that you're like, oh man, I wish someone had just messaged me and said, hey, Laura, make sure you do this before you go out there?
I think it's hanging with your own body weight, just feeling really comfortable carrying your own body weight. Hanging, hand grip strength is
Oh
really,
yeah,
really
yeah,
important.
that's true.
Any
Yeah,
type of grip strength, you think about those challenges where they're holding things or even lifting things. A grip strength is really important. Oh, I also did a fire making course.
Oh, you did?
Yes, and the
Oh,
fire making course, I'd booked it in, so I was told I was a standby, and the fire
yep.
making course was the next day. And I was like, do I cancel? What do I
No,
do?
just do
And
it.
so I did.
Yeah.
I drove. It was 3 hours away, and I cried the entire time. And I drove, and I did like a 4 hour fire making course, and that was actually really, really helpful. And then I cried the whole way back because at that point I thought,
You
I
went
did
on the show.
get it.
Yeah.
Hindsight, I'm really glad that I did get it.
Yeah.
To be fair, I didn't actually really make that much fire out there. I was probably known for
But
being one of
it's
the lazy ones around
but it's
camp.
good to have it in your back pocket because fire is interesting out there because there are definitely people that want to be the fire making people,
Yes.
and you can get by. You don't want to step on people's toes and be like, no, 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 give me a go. You just want to look like you're engaged with the process and know
Yes.
what's going on, everything like that. But if you know how to make fire, and you don't need to make it all the time out
No.
there, you can keep that to yourself and just be like, okay, well, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and then
Yes.
final four go to fire, boom,
Right?
or it
Imagine,
wins. Yeah,
imagine.
imagine
I
that.
didn't make fire the whole time from like the beginning all the way up till swap. I didn't even touch the fire. And
Yep.
then the first day of swap, the Brawns come and go, don't worry guys, I'll make the fire. And I start making it. Miles, Max, and Zara going,
Like
you
what?
can make fire? Like you've
Yeah.
done this the whole time. I'm like, and that was one of the only times I ever did it. I
Yeah.
did not go near it,
Fantastic.
but I do think that was, really helpful. I'd probably, yeah, going out there probably strengthen those skills. I mean, throwing, I didn't often get a chance to throw,
Mm,
but that seems to come up a lot because it tends to be an equalizer. If there's no puzzles, then it really
yep.
tends to be quite a big equalizer.
Yeah, I feel like your season in particular, once sort of that back end of the season, that middle part after the swap, there seemed to be a lot of lob the thing, throw the thing, like try and land it on here. And I can
Mm.
tell you right now, those distances are always a lot further than you think. Because when you're at home and you go, it's a couple of meters away, and you're throwing things into a basket or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I've got this. It's like
It's so
so
long.
far, and you're like, oh my god, okay, I this is really much harder than you think.
I was about to say exactly that
Yeah.
because the challenges are so long, they've got to find a way to get you from point A to point B, and it's like, well, I guess we'll just throw them there. But it's so long.
Yeah.
Challenges are so much bigger and so much longer than you ever think they would be. I remember watching like the second episode and pausing it and in front of my family going, look how, you know how tall I am? Look how high that is. Look how big that is. They are huge. They are massive. They're very, very tall. Like when AJ and Ben are throwing from the top, we
Oh
cannot
yeah, yeah, yeah. That one.
hear
Yeah.
a word they're saying. That's how high they are. Usually you can hear like a couple
Mm.
stories high. We could not hear a word they were saying because they're so high up in the air.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
they're tall and they're big and they're long. So throwing's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Mm.
If you were I suppose, talking about playing again, would you be open to playing again if you went out there?
I'd love to play again.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
really,
So
really
you
love
would
to
love to
play
play
again.
again. Yeah.
I
And
think
is
that I'd have to do some things differently, but I would love to play again.
yeah. Is there any prep that you would do? Like you'd obviously do a little bit more prep and things like that. But how would you approach? What would be some of the things you do differently?
Yeah, I think that the hanging is really important. Just the grip
Yeah.
strength. Just like feeling really strong in my hands specifically, because the muscles here, but like even with the ring pull when I had to pull Zara,
Yeah.
that
Yep.
challenge, that doesn't come from these muscles. That comes from these muscles. So I do a lot more hand grip strength. Yeah, balance would be a big one, although Pilates was helpful. It seemed that there
Yeah.
was
That
like
would have been
a
good.
lot of
Yeah.
balance
There
as
seems to
well.
be always a lot of balance once, especially
Yeah,
later on in the game. Yeah.
yeah. I think strategically, there'd be
Mm.
like so many things that I'd do differently. I think my goal of having like a spider web of connections really, really worked. Like you and
Yep.
I, we're best friends. We agree we're best friends. Split.
Yep.
We agree we're best friends. New best friends. Split. Like that worked really well. That spider web. But what I didn't quite foresee is that the people on the ends of those spider web would then come together and form their own
Yes.
alliance.
Yeah.
So I think knowing that I also go in forming social bonds really quickly with people, I didn't know that about myself. I didn't
Mm.
know that I could go in and become friends with people far faster than anyone else, which became very apparent on the island. People like Logan and I just tended to be able to corral people faster than everyone else. So knowing that, I think I'd take a little bit more of a backseat in those kind of early days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you would, because obviously you and Logan became very visually a pair, very tight, very connected. Do you think that ultimately hurt or hindered? Was that something you would rethink and be like, you know what, I need to keep, because one of the secrets to the graduates was obviously them being able to float that closeness under the radar a bit more. Would that be something that you would rethink about being really obviously connected with someone, or do you think that still has benefits?
I think other people were obviously pairs too.
Yeah, that's what like your Kates and your
Yeah.
Morgans and
Yeah.
other people. Yeah.
I honestly think stuff like that you can't quite control. I'd
Yep.
try and control it as much as possible. And yes, I think that Logan and I should have tried to hide it a little bit better. But when you're so tired and you're so hungry, Logan was the only person that I could hear, that I could understand. And I know that she was the same for me. If I was crying, she could calm me down instantly. And if she
Yeah.
was crying, I could calm her down instantly. And stuff like that you can't hide. So I think, yes, strategically, we definitely could have gone under the radar more. I don't think that I would have an alliance where I meet someone and we agree that we're great and then really separate,
Separate, yeah.
because I need a little bit more reassurance than that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
it's
not that type
scary.
of player.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think the AJs of the world that can really, he trusts the moves. I trust the people. I'm
Yeah.
working with
That's a good
people.
distinction. Yeah.
I'm not working with moves like players like AJ and Miles are, and potentially that's to my detriment. But I know that I'm a social player, so I know that I need to have those connections with people, to feel safe with them. Yes, we definitely could have gone under the radar a little bit more, but when the brains really fractured, it just became really obvious where people sat. So I didn't think there was a real need to hide, where we were sitting. And then it would become, obviously a lie if we
Yeah.
just weren't
Yeah,
talking.
yeah. And if then you're turning around just going
At
like,
that
oh no, I don't get on with Logan. No, no, no. Yeah. Then
Yeah,
it
it's
becomes
like,
really, yeah,
that's
yeah.
bullshit. Like, so I think that then it just sends you further a different way. I think that, like, for example, if we take AJ again, when he was trusting the moves and not the player, sometimes he should have trusted the player and not the moves, in terms of like someone like Kaylin. So I think that, yeah, it worked for me at the beginning. If I were to go back, I would probably, yeah, hide a little bit more of my relationships, but I think only to the point that I possibly can.
Well, because the other thing is, you're out there for so long, and realistically, you want to hang out with people that you get on with. Like, you want to talk to people that you get on with, and if you get on with someone, you've got a connection there. You do actually want to have rice with them and sit next to them and go
Yes.
like, "Hey, what about this?" and just talk about crap. And
Yes.
it is hard to know, oh, I'm connected with this person, but I can't seem too connected with them. And it is, yeah, it is a really hard line. But I love what you say about AJ and Miles playing more the moves and going, okay, this is logical. This is their motivation. They should want to do this move because it's the best for their game. Right.
Yeah.
And that balancing act between that, which can work in the game, but also going, no, this person is got my best interests at heart as well, and we're going
Yes.
to move forward together. Yeah, it's a really interesting distinction,
Yes.
man. I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
I think something I learned about myself out there as well is I can handle strange personalities quite well. People that were really grating, people like Miles, like Rich, like Kent, didn't seem to bother me that much. I
Yeah.
just had the thought process of, through the application process, they ask you, what's a personality type that annoys you? How would you deal with that personality type? And when I saw those personality types out on the island, I thought, well, they're here purely to annoy me. Like, their
They
whole
put them out there. Yeah.
purpose, their whole character, their whole archetype is to annoy you.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to let them annoy me.
Mm.
Like, I think that I worked really well with different personalities, which also really helped, my game in the end. There's such a funny scene where Logan's like, saying Rich's breathing is just getting to me. And I understood exactly what she meant. I'm like, yeah, but it's his breathing. Like, it's okay. We got to think about this kind of logically. He's not going to stop breathing.
Yeah.
No matter where we put him, he's going to stay breathing.
He's breathing.
Yeah.
Why did you vote out Rich? He's breathing was just
He was
it was
such a
too
mouth
too
breather, man. If you know, you know. He's a mouth breather.
Okay, so that's our pre-game. That's sort of our pre-game stuff. Anything else on casting or pre-game that you wanted to drop? Or we'll move on to the actual game, I guess.
I think just don't be afraid to be your weirdest self in the
Yeah, that's a good one.
application
That's a good one.
process. They don't want well-rounded, highly
No, they want people
educated. They want
opinionated.
sharp,
Yeah.
they want polarizing, they want different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good. There's one thing you always want to do. You always want to have an opinion on stuff. They don't want any fence
Yeah.
sitters.
Yeah,
Hey.
strengthen your point of view.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Okay, let's move on to the game now. There's a couple of key moments for me that sort of stood out in terms of your journey and your time out there. So I wanted to drill down on them, some of them a little bit, so just before we get to the I've got a few good questions I wanted to get into with the jury, so we'll get into that in a second. But first of all, I think I had a bit of a chat about probably the key moment of the season, or a moment that really summed up the season for me, and I came up with the alley vote. I feel like this is probably the biggest sort of encapsulating vote of Brains versus Brawn 2. I feel like it had a little bit of everything. It had advantages being played incorrectly. It had high emotions. It had a bit of a twist. It had someone getting angry at someone else. So in this situation, Ali's gone nuts at AJ and sort of really read him his last rites. So AJ's sort of going, okay, yep, he's just taking it on board. He's not fighting back. The graduates have secretly emerged underground. Max had his advantage, and Max wants Miles out. And then ultimately Max sort of sends you Karen back. And for someone that wanted Miles out with an advantage to be able to do that, it all sort of fell apart.
Yeah.
But I just want to take a moment there, just from your perspective on this particular vote. What are some things that you remember from that time, or did it feel like this moment for you, or just do you want to talk through that moment a bit?
So a couple of days before then, when the rich non-elim happens, I understand there's a minority forming. I understand there's a group forming, but I cannot for the life of me put who is in this group together.
Mm.
But I know the minority is coming together and they're going to do something. So I understood something was happening at that tribal. All afternoon, I'm begging Max to remove Zara and Karen. I want him to remove
Yeah.
Zara and Karen.
Okay. So even though you guys were still meant to be sort of together, you just felt
Yes.
something.
And
Yeah.
a big part was if he did remove Zara and Karen, I could come back and say, I protected you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Me. I told Max to do that. I want to move forward with the coven. Um, the reason Max removed me is because I was so close with Miles. I have an amazing friendship with Miles that isn't quite getting shown, but I think he was a little bit scared about if I was willing to vote out Miles. And to this day, I don't know what I would have done if I were
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
truly, truly don't know. The last thing I remember from that tribal is grabbing my torch and Ali turning around to me and going, "It's me." And I just look at her and go, and just walk away. And I walked away thinking I should have said goodbye. I should have said something. I should have said, no, you're okay. It was a really bizarre moment of like, I genuinely don't know what's going to happen here. Are they all going to flip and go on Logan? Is
Mm.
everyone going to come together and get angry at Max and vote for Max? I really didn't know what was going to
So
happen.
who did you want to go home in that spot then?
I thought Miles was going home.
Yeah,
I
but did you?
thought
But you were close to Miles, so you
I
didn't
was
really
close
want
to
Miles to
Max.
go else. So
No,
who would you want to have gone home?
I don't know. I really, really don't know. I walked into that tribal because I knew Max was just going to do something crazy and
Yeah.
I couldn't plan for what he was going to do. I
The fact
don't.
that so he really didn't give you any clue what he was going to do. He was like, "I'm
All
just going to
afternoon.
decide."
So when we came back, because Rich made it so obvious at that challenge, he just kept yelling, "Bomb squad, bomb
Bob
squad,
Squad,
bomb
Bob Squad.
squad,"
Yes.
across the mat, and
Rest
like
in peace, Bob
him,
Squad.
right? No, we see him like hand Max this thing. It was not Sly. We all see it, and so as soon as we get back to camp, we all go, "Max, what's that?" And he reads
Yeah.
it out in front of all of us. And initially, he says he's going to remove himself and AJ from the tribal. And I didn't want that because I would prefer AJ to go home over Miles. I
Yep.
thought this might actually be an opportunity if we remove the right people to get AJ out. So
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I say to Max, no, don't remove yourself and AJ. You need to stay. Like, this is your
We
advantage.
need to
You
use your
need to
vote. Yeah.
choose who goes home, really. You don't remove yourself. That's just silly. And don't remove AJ because AJ's thrown out Logan's name and AJ's starting to come across quite sneaky. Remove Zara and Karen.
Karen. Yeah.
Remove Zara and Karen. And he goes, no, what if I just remove like you and Logan, because then we were worried about the minority taking out either Logan or I, because we didn't know which one of us it was,
In terms
like
of a target. Yeah.
aim the bomb squad had. I knew Rich wanted Ali out. Miles was feeding information to Zara and Karen about the bomb squad. Rich was feeding information to Logan and I about the bomb
Yeah.
squad. It was the messiest afternoon you can possibly
Jeez.
imagine. Names just throwing everywhere, people pulling Max saying, you should do this, you should do that. And I think that was probably a big reason why he wanted to have the control in his mind of having the girls on one side voting Miles and the boys on one side voting Ali,
Yep.
because all afternoon people were telling him what to do. Walking in, never in a million years did I expect him to remove me. Or if he did remove me, I expected him to remove Logan and I.
Yes, yeah, to stop people voting for you guys.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
If
you
I'd
got
had it
on.
my way, I think I would have removed two graduates and convinced everyone to vote out AJ.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so wild. Because so then the other thing that happens in that one is then Zara sort of pretends that she mucked up the
Yeah.
next day.
Yeah.
Talk us through that. Were you guys buying that, or was that just like, okay, something is happening here?
No,
This is
no,
the
we really weren't buying it at all. Like,
yeah,
I wanted to make her feel like we were buying it. So I was
yeah.
like,
That's the
I
thing. Yeah, you got
understand,
to.
I totally get it. But when Karen and I were removed, that gave us a great opportunity to get to talk. That's when I found out what the graduates were. I didn't know the name, but I knew the five that were in it. We
Oh,
really
really?
had a
Yeah.
chat about how we wanted to move forward because that afternoon there was also kind of a pseudo alliance with Logan, Max, myself, and Kaylin. That was an alliance that was going to move forward. And I'm saying
Yeah.
that to Karen. She goes, no, 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 no. Kaylin's with
That's
me. And I was like, okay,
yeah.
well, who else is with you? And we had a really great chat. So I, I knew that Ali was definitely going home from our
At
chat.
that point, yeah.
Yes, it was not a surprise when they come back and Ali's gone home because Karen's now told me
Yeah.
like this information. And that's when, Zara didn't need to say she cooked it as much as she did because by that point I found out she was in another alliance.
Lights, yeah.
So then I was watching her going, okay, this is your lying face. This is your lying face. Because I knew that she was lying, right? So I'm now studying her lying face. And Logan didn't believe it for a second.
Mm,
And yeah, we knew in that moment we were pushed straight to the bottom of the tribe.
yeah.
We
Oh,
really
so
knew
brutal.
it was not fun. It was just
No.
the most gut dropping thing that I wasn't even at the tribal. I couldn't control it. I
Yeah.
couldn't be there. I couldn't have my say. But then with, safety without power has now sent me to the bottom of the tribe. And I now know, and I found out only like a couple days ago listening to an exit interview that I was going to be the next graduate's target. I did not know that until 2 days ago. But
Oh.
all five of them were like, "Oh yeah, no, you didn't know that. Oh, you were definitely next if we didn't swap." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
And it is quite confronting as well when especially when you think you have some of these connections and social bonds and stuff like that, and then it only takes one or two people to go like, no, 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 I think this should happen, and
Yeah,
it can just really quickly solidify people. I know it only took in my exit where when I had quite a good relationship with Riri and there's some other people like me and Alex worked together. Although Alex, we sort of our relationship broke down at that point. But you have, and me and Ray had a pretty good relationship before he knew that I was voting for him. And it only takes one person to say like, I think we should do this, and then everyone just feels comfort in going, yep, okay, we'll get on board with that. And as long as it's not me, people sort of fall into that a little bit. And
yeah.
you go like, oh, I thought we had
So
something
we
here.
had
I thought we had
something,
a connection.
Miles.
Yeah.
That's it wouldn't be the last time that I thought we had something, Miles. Like he really hurt me, but that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, no, that tribal. It's so interesting to think that
Mm.
it really is the moment of this season and encapsulates everything, and I wasn't even there for it.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny, but that is part of it because there is a world in which, yeah, Max sends, yeah, Zara and Karen home, and then you guys all end up voting for Miles, and Miles does go home at that point. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, who knows? Or, I still think about this. I'm still not sleeping thinking about, okay, what if he'd removed Miles and Ali? Like knowing Max,
yeah,
he would have.
yeah,
What would have happened if he'd removed Miles and Ali? Like
yeah. It would have been a
things would
crazy
have gone
tribal.
mental. Yeah, no, it was a crazy scramble. It truly was just a mess because no one believed Max. And Max,
Yeah.
all the combinations that Max said that afternoon, none of them were Karen and I.
Yeah, wow. Okay. That's great.
It was,
Okay, that was good. That's a good little breakdown. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is the coven
yeah.
itself. I just want to know just a couple of things about it. Obviously, it was it was a comfort sort of alliance that came out of people a lot of the time if something starts near the start of the game, people are like, yep, I'll get on that. Great, I've got something to grab onto. I just want to know pre-game, was that something that you wanted to do, form a strong female group, or was that just these are the people I'm vibing with and I'm sort of feeling it and it's just sort of all happening naturally?
I love the Black Widow Brigade, and so does
Yes.
every single other member of the Coven. But no, that wasn't something that I had an intention to do, and I give all of those props to Karen. Like she really started the Coven.
Yep.
She found herself. drowning in big personalities and just thought I need to create an us against them. And the boys was being so boy and so kind of big boy mentality. And I was fine with that. I knew I could fit into that if I needed to. But credit to her, she thought, let's create an us against them. And it really worked.
Yeah.
We saw Candy go home and just thought there was just no rhyme or reason behind it other than her being the smallest physically
Yep.
and a woman, and we really didn't want that, and that was something we could all agree upon, was that we didn't want a woman to go home first just because she's a woman. So yeah, the coven kind of formed out of Karen's doing. She really pulled us all together and named it, and yeah, it was a great alliance. It was like, I didn't expect it to get shown, if I'm being completely
Oh,
honest.
really? Oh, it's such a big part of the start of the season.
I know. But after the alley vote, which was only, a couple votes in, we never really continued to work together. But then,
Yeah.
when Zara and I had our relationship and then Karen told Logan to play the idol, like, we all seemed to have a really big hand in each other's
Mm.
undoing. So I understand why it was. But if you'd told me after the alley vote that the coven would be what it is now, I wouldn't have believed you. I just wouldn't have thought it would get
So,
shown, because from
that
then
is
on,
so
we never really
funny.
spoke about it again.
So with that, one thing that sort of happened, you had this core group, but you had your little bit on the side, you had your Rich on the side, and it did come across very obvious that you're like, no, 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 I need to keep Rich because I'm really close with Rich. It seemed like from a viewer perspective, it got to the point that it was very obvious that you're like, no, I want my cake and eat it too. I want you guys, and I want Rich in this, and I want to have all these little things, and you could sort of see the wheels in the girls' heads going like, well, that only benefits Laura.
Yeah.
Like and so I just want to know, what is your thought process during that? Was it just overridden like the logic circuit to be like, no, 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 I just want everything. I want everything like this.
I was very open about wanting to have my cake in it. But the other girls had their cake too. Like, Zara had AJ, Karen had Kaylin, and Logan
Yeah,
had Max. We all, to
that's your
quote Zara, had
person.
our little boyfriends. Like, we all had a guy that we wanted to protect.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. It was just mine was the loudest.
Yeah.
Um, damn it. But what was I going to say? Yes. So the first vote, a big reason why I wanted to keep Reach was not because we got along, which we do,
Mm.
but when Indy came to him and told him about the conversation that I wasn't a part of, I had heard the conversation through Karen and Ali, but it was Rich who told me that conversation had taken place in the first place. And he did not waste a second. The conversation that he has with Indy, as soon as that's finished, he walks straight down the beach and tells me about it. He goes, "This
Yeah.
just happened to me privately," or Logan and I.
Yeah.
And it was not in his best interest to do that at all. And he spilt that information with absolutely no pushing. He
Yeah.
was just a leak of information. I knew everything that was going on between the boys, or what the boys were telling him. And I just thought, this is a gold mine. This is just an absolute gold mine in Survivor, to find someone who just will tell
Yeah.
you absolutely everything from their truth.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody else had it the whole season, somebody that would just come to them and tell them exactly what just happened.
Yeah.
And I then went to Rich, okay, well, we're going to flip it back onto Indy. And it made sense for the girls because Indy has just ruined their plan. So I thought, no more needing convincing here. Like, that speaks for itself, right? And then Kent kind of dug his own grave. So by the time it got to the Rich Nonalim, I didn't think that they wanted him out that bad. I
Mm.
didn't know that he was annoying them that much. And I did kind of make a big fuss about it because I was losing I did it on purpose. I wasn't that upset. I was going to vote Rich out. I
Yep.
wasn't actually heartbroken about it, but I wanted to make it a big deal for them so that they saw I'm burning my bridge now because
Yes.
I'm dedicating to you. I want you to know
Yeah.
that
I'm
I'm not
sacrificing something. Because if you turn around and go like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, cool guys, they were like,
exactly.
oh, that was easy. But you are
Exactly.
sacrificing something for the greater
I'm not
good. Yeah.
happy about this. I'm just
The
letting
greater good.
everyone's losing their information leak to the
Mm.
boys, and I'm doing it. But now in the future, you're going to have to do something now for me
Yep.
because you guys are not willing to give up AJ has actually thrown out Logan's name. That's not a he's tried to corral votes against Logan. Yes, Rich has said everybody's name here because he's just an absolute, like, he's just spouting names, yes. But never was he trying to corral a vote against someone. He wasn't ever gaining the troops
Yeah.
for a vote. But AJ was. But we're going to forgive that. That's okay. But I'm letting you know that I'm burning a bridge that I'm not happy about for you. And I thought that I wanted them to take it as this is a Laura dedicating to us. But instead, and I understand why, they took it as, I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I kind of made a big fuss about it so that they knew that. But I understand why it pushed them further away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting as well because a similar thing sort of happened in our season. I'm just going to connect these dots. But like Mark and the V's, because originally Mark was obviously in the Middle Age Mafia with Kitty and Cara and myself. But it became very apparent that he was putting a lot more eggs in the V's basket. And it's interesting how to navigate that. No, I'm with these guys, but I'm actually still with you. And that is a really hard thing to do. And you see it happening a lot. And at some point, people do just go, you know what, I am all in this way. And it becomes really evident that they're all in on this way. Do you think, so when the cards fell, you were going to fall towards the coven and Rich was going to be something that was going to pass by, but you just wanted to make that clear that it's like, I'm giving up something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely voting Rich out before that non-elimination, for sure. There was no ifs, ands, or buts in my mind. But I felt like they didn't understand that I'm, burning a bridge for them. But I could also see that they're making their own life rafts out of this situation. So don't get upset at me for also having a life raft. And like my life raft hasn't thrown out Logan's name. Like my life raft isn't like, yes, he's annoying people, but like he's also like giving us this information. Your life rafts aren't doing that. But they were all forming their own, connections, and I could
Love it.
see the graduates forming, not knowing really who's in it. So I'm having a conversation with Logan and Ali going, do you see this? Do you see that group forming? We cannot lose Rich, not because he's rich and not because he's our friend, but because we need him as a number.
Yeah.
Like, because that group is forming now without us. We are now slowly falling into this minority. It's not because of who Rich is. It's because he's with us.
Yep.
And they
That makes
understood
sense.
that.
Yeah.
But I think I just pushed Zara and Karen further into the graduates.
Yeah. Now we'll keep moving along. I just want to quickly touch base on your exit episode, and if there is something in your mind, looking back now, like hindsight is, we could live through coulda, woulda, shouldas, but I think just as a thought experiment, is there anything that you feel that you could have done to change that episode in any way? Like like Last Gasp isn't a great immunity challenge to really, because that's one that you're either good at or you're not. It's not sort of a one that you can go, you know what, I need this. I just need to hold on. I need to hold on, because that is a really hard challenge. And I don't think, do you ever feel like, man, I would have.
I never in a million years thought that I needed to win that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, cool. This is fun. I got to do a classic Survivor challenge. And
Actually, in my very first application video, so my application video for Times versus Rebels, I said that my dream challenge was to try the Last Gasp.
Last Gasp, yes. Great. Did you do in the bathtub? Did you practice? I did a thing in the bathtub where Yes, you get in the bath, you fill it up, and then I practice. I'm a snorkel man, so I was doing my snorkel in the bathtub to see how long I could just breathe underwater with my snorkel.
Would you suggest that as prep, just in case?
I did. I was doing a lot of stuff. Because I'm not great. Like, I'm not a big swimmer, so in my prep, I'd been leading. Had done a bit more water stuff. I do diving under, grabbing things, and I did a bit of that in the bath. And so, that did help me. But then you've got someone like Mark in our season who's great swimming, and so you let him do all the swimming ones. But if you get later on where it becomes a little bit more individual, I think it could have helped.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened in that one was there was a reward challenge, which was the netball one where you're in pairs.
Yes.
And then just
by the Olympian.
Yeah, you get dragged across. But the interesting thing about that, the winners of that were AJ, Karen, Kate, Christian, Miles, and Paulie.
Yeah.
The fact that you and Logan, do you think that played into anything out there? Like the fact that out of that entire group, it's like, okay, that was an opportunity for them to solidify it. Had you been in that group, had Logan been in there, would that have still have been as solidified? What do you think?
I think that either Logan and I would have been the vote even if we were at that reward. I
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
think that
Yeah.
would have stopped it.
Yep.
But yes, even at the time when we got split, I thought, "Oh, this is not good because
Mm,
we're kind of the only buddies still together.
yeah.
This isn't looking good for us." I was banking on Kate. I was just praying that Kate would come back to me with the information,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we've formed such a tight bond
From
on.
previous year. Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
to
swap.
be fair to her credit, she wasn't lying when she said no. They weren't bringing up your name. It
Yeah.
wasn't
It
your
was.
name.
Yeah. It was Logan's name.
It
Yeah. That's
was
true.
Logan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and she was kind of hinting to it. And I could have taken that a little bit more seriously, I think. I think things that I could have done differently go back to the PD vote.
Mm,
I think that if, when I saw Miles take Kristen's idol, which was an advantage that I knew about,
yep.
and that's a well kept secret that I did know about it,
Yeah.
but it was misinterpreted because Miles runs like he talks at a million miles per pace an hour. And I misinterpreted the information. I didn't know it was an idol stealer. I thought it was an idol nullifier. So
Oh, really? Okay. I haven't heard this. Okay. Go.
yeah,
No. 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 No.
when he so well, I'll talk about his advantage. So the pastor award happens. Also, what's something that's not shown? I rigged the sticks. I gave out the sticks and I rigged them
Oh, to do the order.
to do the order.
How do you rig sticks? You just
So
pick
they
this
were
up.
like, "Who's going to do the sticks?" And I picked them up, and we make it into an order of like tallest, biggest to shortest.
Yes, yeah.
And then I like shuffle them, and I was like, "Everyone, close your eyes." And then I just like gave a stick to someone basically, and they were like, "Oh, I got the short one." So the order that I did was Jesse first, then Ben, because I thought they were the least likely.
Likely
No,
to find stuff.
Jesse first, Morgan second, because I thought they were the least likely to look for something. Then I went third because I didn't want to put myself
First, because too
but I did want to be
suspicious.
able to make a
I
mess.
like it.
Then I put Ben, then Kate, Miles and Kate.
Yeah.
The end two were really hard to flip. I was definitely trying to put Miles at the end, but I rigged the sticks. So yes, when Miles eventually comes out, he sits down and goes, "One of you have it. One of you have it." And we went, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I saw the clue and it said look on the shelf." And we're all like, "Oh my gosh, like who has it? Who has this idol or this clue?" And he made this big kind of hoo-ha
So
about
this was an open discussion, though. This was an open discussion. Yeah.
while
Wow.
Kate's in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, someone has it. And we get back to camp and we're sitting in the shelter and he goes, "I don't think it said shelf. I think it said shelter." And there's beautiful footage that I would love to see of Miles and I like rolling around in bamboo, like trying to stick our
So,
hand
yeah.
through bamboo, like sticking my hand like through the slots, and I'm like rolling around to try and find it. And then I'm sitting in the shelter when he just goes doink and pulls it out. And he read it, but we clearly couldn't read it then. I never really saw it. I saw him find it,
Mm.
but the way I interpreted it was an idol nullifier because we've seen those in Survivor
Yeah.
before, but we haven't really seen an idol stealer in that same way.
Oh, well, we have in New Era. We have.
Oh yeah, I don't watch New Era. I don't
Yeah.
like. I don't
Yeah.
like.
That.
Yeah, I don't like New Era. I'm watching 48, which I like. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll go back, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen any New Era. So maybe that's to my detriment.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, I didn't know it was an idol stealer. If I knew it was an idol stealer, I would have maybe made an attempt, and I don't know if I would have had the foresight to truly do this, but to shuffle the idols around. Because Kristen did know about Logan's idol, and everyone knew about Kristen's idol.
Oh man, if you had known, yeah, because that's what you do. You go,
Shuffle.
Logan, like give me your idol and like move this around because this is in play. So let's secretly do this, and then you do the whole, oh, can I have your idol? No, I don't actually have it. And
Yeah,
it's
you know
like,
what's
oh,
horrible though? This is truly horrible. If we were at that tribal council and she goes, "Give me back my idol," I genuinely think I would have had to say no. You're right. I have to say this to myself. I'm so sorry. Thank God that didn't happen. But yeah, I would have done some shuffling. But I think that PD vote kind of solidified me in the split because I didn't continue on the plan with Miles. I thought to go back to the original question, I thought that when Logan was the main target, I'd fingers crossed done enough with Miles to not be the split. I thought Kristen was probably the highest likely split because she just lost her buddy and that's not hurting anyone. Um, but I really thought I'd done enough to not be the split. I thought I'd done enough with Kate and Morgan to fight to not be the split. I thought I'd done enough with Miles to potentially not be the split. So when my name gets pulled out for the first time, it is truly, truly, truly a blindside. Yeah. Yeah. I genuinely thought it was
It
going
is interesting because you put in effort, like you say, with people, but then you've also got to. There's only really a few people in a season that really corral votes,
to. Hmm.
that really have the ability to get people on board, and it's like Kate probably wasn't going to be that person. Like
Yeah.
Kate's lovely, but she's not the person like, guys, let's do this. This is a good plan, rah, rah, rah. And it is funny because you have this social capital with people, but then if they don't have the ability to no, 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 let's not do that. Let's do this.
Yeah.
It ends up being like just one or two people that's like, no, 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 Laura's the split. Because like you had Paulie there as well. Paulie was a split like
Yeah.
every time it
Yeah.
was a
Right?
split,
Yeah.
except for that one.
Miles back on the split.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, but then on the flip side of that, if you are close allies with the person that corrals votes, you're then the person that goes home when you can't target them.
Yes,
You know
correct.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's always benefits and negatives to having certain allies, and even out there, sometimes you can't tell who that person is corralling the votes. I thought with Miles corralling that vote, I really had done enough to not be the split, and
Mm.
to this day, I think that he put himself back further down because no one was really advocating for him. Like I really was truly advocating for him the whole
Yeah.
game. So I think that was to his detriment. Although look, where
Well, there you go. Yeah, you can't
you
can't
lose some,
really
you
say.
lose some Miles, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure if there's really anything else I could have done. I was doing the best with the information that I had at the time, and I think that if Karen had not spoken to Logan, she would not have played that idol. I
See,
really don't
that's
think that
yeah,
she would
that's
have.
amazing.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, well, I want to move on now to the jury phase of the game because I find this really fascinating. And I want to just have a bit of a chat now. Being the mayor or the queen of Jury Villa, coming into that position straight away, obviously you're there by yourself. People then start arriving one after another. I just want to talk through this. How did you feel did you feel some ownership of the jury and being mayor of Jury Villa? And how did that feel and how did it manifest yourself as the jury came together?
I absolutely felt ownership or a pride of the
Mm.
jury and what type of jury we want to be. Um, I was so proud to be the first member of the jury. I manifested I either wanted to win or be the first member of the jury.
Yep.
I I absolutely, as soon as I got voted out, yes, I was sad, but God, I didn't cry for days because I was just so happy to be the first member of the jury. It was one of the best nights getting voted out. It truly, truly was. I didn't sleep until 4 a.m. because there were so many things as the mayor of Jury Villa that you have to experience for the first time.
Yeah.
Everyone's like kind of going through it for the first time with you. So, all those Jury Villa episodes, that's them figuring it out too.
Yep.
So it was just one of the best nights. I just loved it so much. But each new person that came in definitely changed the dynamic of
Yeah.
the jury. I mean, when Paulie came in, I was so happy that Paulie was there because we really didn't get a lot of time on the beach together. He was the person, from Merge onwards that I'd spent the least amount of time with.
Yeah.
So I was, so happy that he was there. We had an absolute ball, Paulie and I. We just got on like a house on fire instantly. It was so funny though when he came out. I asked, so whose vote was that? Who's going to get credit for that vote? And he goes, Laura, I was told to write your name down at Tribal Council. I have no idea how that happened. And I went, Paulie, I've just spent 5 days, including Bouncy Barrett,
Waiting
by
to hear
myself.
this.
I go to Tribal Council, get all
Oh.
dressed up, sit down. There's going to be a twist. And I went, no, there's not. No, I'm by myself for
Oh,
longer.
yeah, longer. That's right.
By myself, from going, with so many people to nothing. So yeah, Paulie comes in and he has no information to give me, like none. He was like, I genuinely don't know how that happened. Like I was just told to write down your name at Tribal Council.
Ah,
It was the most frustrating.
frustrating. Yeah.
And then when Karen came in, that was very, very interesting because she had such a heavy hand in both Paulie and my vote outs. And there were definitely, I think what I liked about our jury, which is so funny because the Jury Villa episodes, you just see the one side of the coin, which is we hash it out and we will talk about it and we will have open feelings about everything because we are so close as a cast, as a group. We're such good friends. Everyone in the jury is still such good friends. that jury group chat is active. It really truly is. But we will hash things out. We'll say how we feel, and then we'll get over it. And that's
Yeah.
how we've been able to maintain these friendships. But the Jury Villa episodes, you just see the initial fights, but you don't see us then spending 3 days
The
getting over
makeup.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Karen coming in was actually hindsight. It was so much fun. Like
Yeah.
it really was. As soon as the game ended and her tribal council was so big and dramatic, we couldn't really be upset at her. We just went, you just like laid it all out on the ground. Yes, Paulie and her definitely had some conversations. There's such a funny memory of we're waiting. I think it's before a tribal, and we're playing Uno before we have to go. And I'm sitting in the middle, and they're just yelling at each other. And I'm just like holding my Uno cards, going, can someone put down the next card, please? Like they really had it out, but we had such a fun time together that every person that came in did change the dynamic, but in a positive way. We
Yeah.
got
Okay.
to gain more information on the game. We got to see people outside of a fight and flight state, because that's kind of what you're in when you're playing Survivor, is you're in this
Mm.
kind of constant anxiety. So we got to see everyone after a good night's rest, and we just got along so well. We would do these big walks together. And I really made sure that everyone felt like they had gotten all of their grievances out, because I think going into a final tribal with any type of grievances would only be to, the winner's detriment. I
Mm.
just wanted to make sure that everyone felt like I gave them an opportunity to say everything that they wanted to say to me, and I think that then spread throughout the entire jury. It was really interesting. Kind of a pattern that happened was everyone really enjoyed their first tribal council. The first tribal council that you go to as a
With
jury
it,
member, you
with
get your
it
big
to come out.
talking.
Yeah.
Everyone had a great time. Then you attend your second tribal council,
Yeah.
and it's the night after your second tribal council, so it's just happened, where people get upset that they're now no longer in the game. The novelty's worn off of
Yeah.
having
Okay.
food,
Yep.
and you're now upset that you're out of the game, and every single person went through it. This really interesting wave of
Mm.
emotions. I went through it, and then I saw it happen to Paulie, and then I saw it happen to Karen, and it was just these waves of, now I'm upset that I'm no longer there, and they're all closer and I'm out. So, my dream's been taken away from me, and I felt like it was my responsibility to help people through those emotions and go, this is normal. We've all
Mm.
gone through it. You'll get over it. We're going to go back to the jury, and we're going to have some chocolate. How great's chocolate? Like,
Yeah.
I got to walk people through these emotions, which was really, really nice, but I could only discover through experiencing myself. Um, yeah, it was a really interesting time of kind of getting your human emotions back, because
Yeah.
in the game of Survivor, you can't always show your emotions. You can't always tell people how you're feeling. Sometimes that's the first conversations that we're ever having, where we're being totally honest with each other.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was really lovely to be able to kind of walk people through those steps.
So as it's going along, as a jury, you're obviously thinking with the people still in the game. You're like, oh, okay, oh, this person, and you're sort of we see it in other seasons so much that maybe there's an underdog or someone that the jury's sort of getting behind, and then they're like, so during that journey, who were the sort of people that the jury were following and interested in, being like, oh, and then they get voted out. So what was that like? When looking at it as a whole, did it go through different people?
For sure, for sure.
Mm.
There's a story I've been dying to tell you, Eden.
Okay,
So
great.
we start to notice as a jury, Kalen is winning these individual immunities. He is
Yep.
just going back to back to back. And Kate is just one of the best social players you'll ever meet. She's so, so lovely. And she started to get this underdog story. She started to get this, wait a minute, she might be the last Brawn standing, this kind of push. And I think when
And
it
you
was,
could feel that on the jury? You could
oh,
feel that?
for sure. She
Yeah.
was starting to speak so well at Tribal Council.
Yeah.
She was openly talking about what she was doing. She looked like she was the only one attempting to flip Zara. It was really like, this is Kate's moment now. And there was a day where it was Logan, Paulie, Karen, and myself.
Mm.
And we said, we really want Kate to win in
Yeah.
individual immunity. We just really wanted to win. Or maybe Kristen was there. I forget. But let me think. Kristen was there, actually. Kristen was there. But I don't think she was in this little moment. Anyway, we figure out, we're like, what time of the day is it? Immunity challenge has probably already happened. Kaylin's probably already won. But if not, we're going to do a spell to help win.
Oh,
We
wow.
win individual immunity. So as a four, we sat on the beach and we held hands, and I led us through a spell for Kate to win individual immunity. And you know what happens that night? The challenge. The
That's
challenge.
the one that she wins there.
Challenge.
Oh my God.
When we're waiting for them to finish the challenge, I remember Paulie looking at me going, if you can do this,
This
if
is
you can,
creeping everyone out.
if Kate wins this, I swear. And when she walks back in with the necklace, the
You
jury
guys
just
would have
went
lost it.
off. We were like, yes! We were so happy for her. We just were like, this is your moment. This is your moment. We really were fighting for Kate to get far because she did really have an underdog story of being that last bronze standing. And we thought she could speak quite well at that final tribal council. So we were all really, Kate was the underdog we were all rooting for sure. And when she ended up getting voted out in the most amazing move on Zara's behalf, we saw that, and it was kind of what I thought was a splatter gun of votes. I thought that they'd all voted for each other on purpose. I thought that it was a planned thing. And when we eventually speak to Kate and Zara, they say, no, that was not planned. We all really just turned on each other, and Zara did such a great move in voting Kate out. It really was in her best interest too, because the jury was so clearly behind Kate.
Yeah. And did the whole time when you're on the jury, was there a feeling like we obviously know AJ's game and everyone's talked about AJ being quite like strategic and knew what was going on and everything like that. Was there a feeling in the jury of like, well, if AJ gets there, he's going to win?
Yes.
Or was there still a bit of pushback at that point? Like, oh, you know what? He did the hostage thing and stuff like that. Was that always from the edit? They did build the edit up to be like, oh, if AJ does get there, he's probably going to beat anyone out there. But I was
Yes.
just wondering from a jury perspective, did you guys feel that as well? Or maybe that wasn't as clear cut?
Yes. With every person coming out, we understood that AJ had more power and more power and more power than
Yeah,
we ever
interesting.
thought possible. Every single person that came out kept speaking so highly of AJ did this and AJ did this. And it really, by the end, we were like, this is just blatant at this point. This is just obvious what is happening here. And it's just AJ controlling it all, which it was. So yes, we thought if he got there, we thought who's going to be the silly person to take him? Will he get there? Will he get taken, or can he win? So yeah, we were preparing questions for AJ for sure. We really
Wow.
thought he was going to get there, and we were all going to be quite harsh in our questioning, because we want to see if he could take it. We want to see if he could handle it, because he did play such a great game. We were really going to push to see if he could handle the eloquency that is needed for a final tribal council. But yes, it was. I think if it was a Miles AJ final tribal, that would have been very, very interesting.
Oh, that would have been so good.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
That's what we really thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
We truly, truly did. You can see in 3 when AJ says to Kaylin, "You go with your heart." We all go, "Oh, that's the kill shot." That's because Kaylin's heart is AJ. And you can hear me say, that's very sneaky. Well done. I'm happy that it's sneaky. Good on you. But then, AJ gets voted out and you see my frown, because that's just not what I expected. A final tribal with AJ Miles would have been super interesting. I don't think it would have been the 7-1 landslide to Miles. I think it would have been a little bit more even. But I do think that, AJ just played such an incredible game. We all had questions prepared for AJ. And then when it came to the jury, we asked the questions.
Yes,
we didn't get away with it.
Yeah.
We asked him those questions. Yeah, the questions that were going to help him in his speech, they were not asked. But it's the tough questions we definitely asked
The
him.
tough ones. Yeah. It's funny, in like we can sort of move into the final tribal council, but we do talk there is a big thing about juries and groupthink, and how people can come into a group that has already sort of devised a mental sort of synchronization of no, this person is good, this person is not good, this person is running the game, this person's the way that this person's played is not recognized. And it is hard for an individual single person to come into a big group and not get caught up in that think of like, oh, okay, well maybe this person isn't doing a lot. And I just want to know, did you feel that out there? Was that something that happened, or was this a bit more open, or was there a consensus of like, as a jury, this is what we think should happen and this is what we're going to happen?
Yes. No, I think you've got a jury of some very opinionated people and people who pride themselves on their different opinions.
Yep.
This is not a group of people with Paulie and Logan and Karen and Zara and myself that want to join the group mentality. We all want to have a different opinion than the people around us.
Yep.
So yes, groupthink definitely can be a thing, but it was not like a Miles against Kaylin by any means. It wasn't like a choice between them, rather what do we value as a jury? What do we want to vote for as a win, because they're both so different. Also considering, like, we really did think AJ was going to get there, and we only had less than 24 hours between AJ getting voted out and to swap. Like, it wasn't a blatant final two. That wasn't an obvious final two. Zara had a path to the end. So that's not a lot of time for a whole group to switch on to a person and off of a person. I do think when, like, group mentality is a real thing and something that you do need to be aware of in Survivor. And I think something that Kaylin could have done is the only two people that were really batting for him were Miles and AJ.
Yeah.
Like, they were the two people that knew his game the best and that he'd worked with for the longest. So if you know, like, I wanted to send Logan pretty soon to the jury. I wanted to send
you want an advocate out there,
Sarah to the jury because I knew that they would understand my gameplay. And that was, a misstep on Kaylin's behalf, because you know that these people are going to be talking about the things around you. Send someone there that's going to be batting for you. And he just saved those final two people, like, too late. But in saying that, there were people like Karen and Logan worked really closely with Kaylin. So we were all talking quite openly about, Kaylin's played a brilliant game. He really has. So it wasn't like a one versus the other.
So you didn't come in there going, this is exactly what we're going to do.
No.
Like there was some chance. So in saying that, then what could Kaylin have done? How could he have pitched to swing any of you guys?
I think there's a few things.
Yep.
Firstly, he needed to reveal the mask sooner. So he was doing this kind of dumb playing down thing, which is fine in a total strategy, but you can't change my opinion of who I've known for 47 days in 20 minutes. And to be fair, neither of their speeches were 20 minutes. They both spoke for far, far, far too long. They were both like an hour, and we were just like thinking. And it's so hot, we were like kind of falling asleep. Like, they really did speak for so long. But he needed to start revealing the mask sooner. Both AJ and Miles and even Zara started talking to the jury from 6, 7 onwards. They were actively pitching towards the jury. You can see at 3, AJ just blows Miles out of the water and just naming all of the records that he has. And he's talking to the jury. And Miles was like, great, thanks, mate. I now no longer need to do that tomorrow night because you've now told them. Like, we can't forget our experience for 47 days. So I think that Kaylin needed to start talking to us and start telling us that he was thinking more than we thought he was far sooner. I also think that the things that he was claiming, other people on the jury had claimed to too.
Yeah,
And
that's
what
so
the
tough.
jury
Yeah.
wants to hear is how we helped your game, how we have aided in your game. But he was claiming things solely, which was really not helpful for him, because he was, claiming the Karen move, which Logan thought was hers. He claimed the Kristen move, which Miles and Zara, claimed as theirs. That was a question that ended up being my question for Kaylin. I mean, the final two.
Yeah.
So my question was, you both had a lot of protection in this game. Miles with your idols and Kaylin with your immunity necklaces. Can you both tell me a move that you made without your protection?
See, I love that question because that wasn't shown.
No, it wasn't.
That is a great question, because that gets to the meat of, like, if you take these things away, what is something you can point to, and so how did they sort of answer that?
So it wasn't shown because the answer was pretty brutal on Kaylin's behalf. People,
Oh, okay.
So Miles came and he said, rocks. I was the one that wanted to go to rocks the most. I had no immunity, and I really was putting my game on the line for Zara for this game because I love this game. Brilliant answer. Like, the rocks was totally a fair answer. No protection whatsoever. Actually, the least protection possible.
Yeah.
Kaylin went and said he claimed the Kristen move. He voted out Kristen. Kristen was one of his closest allies. I said, yes, but Kaylin, you were wearing the immunity necklace that night.
Yeah, that's not the question. Yeah,
But I understand what you mean. He was saying, it was to his detriment, voting out Kristen because Kristen was so close to him. And then Miles jumps in and goes, "Oh, sorry, Kaylin. I will say Zara and AJ and I had a conversation that is verifiable that we wanted to wait until you said Kristen and we would just jump on that." So if you'll remember back to that conversation, you said 3 or 4 names before you said Kristen, and then we all said yes to Kristen. Isn't that right, Zara? And she goes, "Yes, that's right, Miles." So it was like kind of like they really derailed his answer. And also he didn't quite answer it because he was wearing the immunity necklace that night. So it was like a very obvious Miles win with that answer. So I think that's why they didn't show it, because from that moment on you could go, "Oh, Kaylin's really, didn't answer that."
Yeah, you could tell where it was going. Yeah.
I'm so disappointed that they didn't show that. I did get a second question, which I remember JLP going, "Laura, are you satisfied?" And I went, "No, I'm not." I'm not satisfied. No. And I asked Miles, how do you think your social game was good, or do you think you relied on players like me? And he was like, "No, Laura, I relied solely on you. Like
that's the
relied
correct
on
answer.
social
Yeah.
players during certain times. I relied on Zara. I relied on AJ to propel my social game. It wasn't where it could have been." And that's all I wanted to hear was that he understood what he was doing. He understood how he came across, which he did in his whole kind of speech. But I just wanted to, I was like, did we have the connection? Yes.
Was that real? Yes.
But I understand why that wasn't shown as well. Zara's question wasn't shown as well. And again, I think it's because it did kind of quite obviously highlight
Solidified the
them the way that we wanted them to be answered. We just want to know the impact that we've had on your game and kind of a bow that we can put your game in. And when I think Kaylin was saying this is a repeatable game, this is a game everyone could kind of follow and do again and again. It's like, that's not the type of winner we want. We do want, the winner who took swings, may have missed sometimes, but boy, did he have fun. And he, absolutely thrived on the bottom, and God, did he survive potentially more than all of us. Miles played from the bottom. He was truly had some of the hardest times out there over a lot of people, and he just survived. He just did what the name of the game is, and truly just survived harder than anybody else. So you can't take that away from him.
How close was Miles to be going home at that early Brawn days?
Early, like Brain 2.0.
Sorry. Early Brain days.
He was going home. That first vote was Miles because the girls wanted a boy to go home. No one had real connections with Miles.
Yeah.
He was absolutely going home if Indy did not blow up her own game.
Yeah.
Like truly, well and truly, the scramble could have been 5 minutes. Like it was Miles. And then I personally went to every single other person and flipped it from Miles to Indy by explaining what had just happened. Rich went to the boys. This was something that I was waiting for. Like you experience and you're like, I'm waiting to see that moment. And there were so many of those that I never saw, which was just so crazy to me. But one moment I was like, that's definitely going to be in there, is Rich tells me about the Indy thing. We're standing here like this. And he goes, flip it. And I go, flip it.
Flip it.
To the boys, and I go to the girls, and we just flip that whole vote.
Flip it.
Flip it.
Flip it. Yeah.
We absolutely just flip the whole vote. We get everybody onto Indy within a space of 5 minutes.
Wow.
And he was going home. He was absolutely going home at the alley vote if Max had removed the right people. He was absolutely going home the first vote of Brains 2.0 if he didn't find that idol in the water. That's another thing. The sandbag. Eden.
Yeah.
7 months. I've been thinking, whose sandbag did that come out of? Because in the moment I went, was that my sandbag? And I still don't know. They're still not showing whose sandbag
it popped open, and whoever opened it didn't see it come out.
I think about it at night going, whose sandbag was that?
Oh, no.
Where did that idol come from? But he absolutely would have been going home if he didn't find that idol.
Yeah.
There were many, many times. He was absolutely going home at 4 if he didn't win immunity. He truly survived. So I think that Miles could claim all of the things and then talk to his defaults, whereas Kaylin was claiming kind of not the right things and then also couldn't claim where he faltered.
Yeah, you got to have those receipts at Final Tribal Council. You got to
Yeah.
have things. You got to do that verifiable thing and say like,
Yeah.
"This happened, isn't that right, Laura?" And you go, "Yeah, we actually did have that conversation. That's very
Yes.
true." And then confirming things like that. You've really got to have specifics. I think Kalen was a little too general in his. This is how I
Yes.
approach the game, rather
Yes.
than these are the specific things that I did
Yes.
out there. Yeah.
I think that he wanted to protect our feelings. He wanted to make sure that like we weren't feeling hurt. But I think what's interesting about things that I've heard from exit interviews and hearing everyone's like real, like true opinions now
Mm.
is the whole time everyone s- thought Kaylin was their closest friend and thought that based on friendship, he was voting with them. And that was his big, that was your downfall, that just because we're friends doesn't mean we're strategically working together.
Mm.
That's what his big kind of pitch was. But then at Final Tribal Council, he expected us to vote out of friendship rather than out of
Yeah.
strategy. So then it kind of like got flipped the other way.
Flipped.
Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's interesting that like the whole time he was like, just because we're friends doesn't mean we're working together. And it's like, well, just because we're friends doesn't mean I'm going to vote for you.
Vote for you. Yeah. At the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Look, it was a hard fought battle, but a well deserved winner at the end of the day. And I
They
feel like
voted
the jury,
so
I feel
well.
like you guys did the job right. And from a Survivor fan, I think that was probably the more interesting. I think you can resonate more with it, with Miles's game and be like, yeah, this is something that we want to reward. And you got to, as someone in the Final Tribal Council, you've got to give the jury something that you can hold on to and be like, that's why I want to vote for you, because you did
Yes.
this and because you
Yes.
did that. And I think he
Yeah.
did that quite well.
Yeah.
Um, with probably in a more broader sense, as sort of we come to the end here, is there, just speaking about your edit, how did you feel about your edit in the end? How did you walk away feeling and watching it back? And is there anything else that maybe didn't make the edit, or any other story or anything you want to share with our listeners?
Mm. So when I finished my interview before, the show, I called my best friend and I said to her, if I get this, I'm going to look like the crazy one. I think I'm going to get a crazy edit. I think I'm going to look kooky. I'm going to look crazy. I think in the interview they just really wanted to know if I could be pushed and if I could really stand by my opinion, which I can. But I was really scared that I was going to look kooky, insane. They were going to play the silly music behind me, which there often is one in every season. So watching the first episode, I was so shocked and so proud that my reads were correct of people, that I
Yes.
was doing kind of the aura readings, and it was then cutting to Kent doing exactly what I said I thought he might do. So I was really happy that in that first episode at least, that I got my intro. Not everyone does. Not everyone
Yeah,
gets
yeah. Not everyone got
package.
an intro package. Yeah.
And to get it in the first episode as well, and then not only that, but to have like kind of between ad breaks, like this whole section was just me. I was just so shocked and so happy that my story was going to get told and that I was kind of a narrator for parts of the show.
Mm.
I was really, really, really proud of my edit. I had no idea what to go in, thinking. I think what I was telling myself was being on the show and playing the game is the part that you wanted. You said you'd do it even if there were no cameras. So everything from now on is just the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
And that is true. I would still want to go on even if it wasn't a television show. So everything that came after was just so exciting. I was so proud that, I got a confessional in every episode. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's great.
super cool and not something that everyone can say. And that I was a narrator for parts of it, for parts like Brain 2.0, when there were, kind of led by the Brawn majority, it was still being told through my voice, which was just so crazy and exciting. I'm really, really proud of my edit. I'm really proud that I can be, an identifiable character,
Mm.
that people know me as the witch, and that wasn't something that was used to, make me sound kooky or
Yeah,
crazy, but
yeah.
rather make me sound quite intelligent and quite exciting, and something that like the Survivor fans can really like get behind and root for. Some people really identified with it. It was polarizing. Some people didn't quite like it but then grew to like me. Other people like, that is absolutely so camp, I love that. They saw what I was doing with it. I really love that there's, they can root for me and I can be inspirational for people. I've had so many messages
Oh, that's
asking
great.
for tarot readings or aura readings, or people telling me that it's allowed them to kind of explore their spirituality as well. So I've been really, I am just over the moon with my edit. Miles messages me a lot and goes, "Remember when you thought you weren't going to be in it at all? Do you remember when you thought you'd get 3 confessionals and then the
Yeah.
first episode you got like four? Like four alone? Like, do you remember when you thought you were absolutely going to be edited out?" Because Brains had so many big characters.
Yeah.
So many big characters, and the story tends to go to the people that make it further. And, out of Logan and I, Logan did make it further. And I thought that, and even Rich was such a big character, and then we were on, Brains, and knowing that, Miles won, I thought maybe all of our relationship, and to be fair, a lot of our relationship didn't get shown, but
Yeah.
I I was just so proud of my edit for where I place. I couldn't be happier.
That's so good. Is there anything that maybe didn't get anything? We've talked a few things that didn't get shown out there, but it was any other stories or anything else you wanted to share of something maybe that didn't get shown in the edit for our listeners?
Yeah, I think just all of like my witchy stuff, a lot of that didn't
Yeah.
get shown. Like a lot of it did, but then I was doing palm readings and aura readings. Something that I absolutely love was for my Jury Villa episode. I went to a waterfall and I did this big water dance, and I was like, I want to send torrential rain to the camps. And then the next night was Bounty Baron, and they had torrential
Oh,
unprecedented
they
rain.
did.
Like they were just getting absolutely stormed on, and from then on, like all of like the crew were like, we're terrified of you, like we're so scared. You literally made it rain with your water dance. So, and like, the jury stuff kind of wasn't on camera, but that little spell that we did for Kate as well, that was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, a lot of that wasn't shown. I think something that can't get shown, but I wish could, with the space of an episode, is the relationships that you form.
Mm.
Miles and I had such a strong relationship. He really meant a lot to my game. Zara and I had so much time together on Brains 2.0. We really spent just whole days talking to no one else but each other. My relationship with Logan was shown, which was just beautiful, but I
Mm.
also worked really hard on my relationship with Kate and Morgan, and I felt very, very solid with them. I think coming into Merge, everybody understood they were with me,
Yeah. Wow.
until, they weren't, and
They
they went to
weren't.
AJ,
Yeah.
but no one could have foreseen that happening. And yeah, I had some really special bonds out there that you can't show in a 1 hour kind of
Mm.
episode, but they really, really meant a lot to me.
That's
Mm.
great. That's so good. And final thoughts just on your season as a whole.
Oh my gosh, they weren't joking when they said it was the most chaotic season ever, were they?
It
I
was
remember
pretty
seeing that
crazy.
very first like little clip, and just I remember getting my nails done, and the woman, when it came out, and I'm shaking, and the woman goes, "You need to stop shaking. I'm getting your nails are like getting done," and I'm over and over and over and over again. Just so proud hearing like Karen's like war cry scream in that ad. I've heard that so many times now.
So
But
good.
I think the season as a whole, I really hope that it promotes big gameplay for the
Yeah.
next one. I think that this season, if anything, was a sign just saying, do it. Just like absolutely go
Go
for it and go
crazy.
hard, because you will get rewarded. So I really hope that it kind of turns Australian Survivor down a really strategic path, which it has already, which
Mm.
it definitely has with the last couple seasons. I mean, yourself included. Miles and I really bonded over our love for you, Eden. We, no, I'm not joking. On the very first day, we were talking about how much we love Australian Survivor. And someone said to us both, okay, well, who's your favourite Australian Survivor player? And at the same time, we said, Eden Porter.
No,
Like,
you
no, no,
didn't.
no, we did.
No,
We
you did.
absolutely did. No, we absolutely did. We bonded over our love for you, and we were
That's very
talking for
good.
like hours about your game and what could have happened differently, and
Yeah.
we really, really did. But
Oh,
I
that's
hope
so
that
funny.
this season starts a trajectory into like more strategy and bigger, better, bolder gameplay for Australian Survivor, because um, you know, I think what I love about Survivor, it shows what a society is like, a microcosm of society. But in Australia, tall
Mm.
poppy syndrome is a real thing, and will cut
Yeah.
people down when they're big. And I think that this season, if anything, shows that like the bigger the better.
Yeah, well, I think especially off the back of Heroes versus Villains and Titans versus Rebels, two things to come out of that were really this idea of we really got into the shield mentality of keeping around
Mm,
bigger players to get further in the game, to sort of get behind, and then to layer that on top with what we saw with Brains versus Brawns 2, which was you have these people, but you also have everyone making big moves and crazy moves, and other people recognizing that, oh yeah, well they're my strategic shield.
mm,
So now I've got to do this now to stand out from them and things like that. And people are thinking about the game in different ways now, which I
yes,
love, which I think
yes,
it's really beneficial. And yes, we've got Australia versus the world, so I don't think we have to worry about that not having big gameplay in it because you've got some
true.
crazy characters. But then for the new season that's being cast now, for the new newbie season, I think it
Yes,
really sets a good precedent for people to understand what they have to do to get through and ultimately win the game, which will be more exciting Survivor for us, I think.
yes, yes. I think something that I learned from this experience that Miles did really well is my mentality was just to get further in the game.
Yeah.
But you've already won when you step foot on the island. You have already gotten everything that you want to get. So you may as well go out swinging. You may as well do the big thing. Getting further in the game does not necessarily mean you're playing a better game.
Yep.
So I think that knowing that you've made it as far as you possibly could by, getting to the island from then on, you just got to absolutely start swinging.
Yep.
That's, the type of gameplay I'd like to see in the future. And I think, yeah, when it comes to shields, if your social game's good enough, you can be your own shield protector. Like you
Yeah,
don't you
yes.
like you don't need a shield. You don't like
Mm,
you because if you're good enough, you can maneuver away from that. And I think AJ is the best representation of that. You don't
yeah.
need a shield.
Yeah. Well, he was very close. He was very close to one extra peg longer. I think he would have.
Right?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Outrageous.
He's so tall, he could have just reached it. Imagine like little Zara trying to reach
Oh,
that.
dude, yeah, imagine that.
Done it.
Well, I think that really brings us to the end. So, Laura, thank you so much for having your debrief here with us today. Could not have imagined a better person to start our little recaps with. So, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed having a bit of a chat and getting just sort of the final chapter of your Survivor journey so far in terms of Brains versus Brawn 2 to sort of discuss with us today. So, thank you so much for jumping on with us, bud.
Thank you. I always enjoy my chats with you. I could talk about Survivor till the cows come home, but I
Yes.
absolutely love chatting with you. And thank you. You asked some great questions I
Oh,
really haven't
good.
heard before. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Love your work, my friend. Well, we hopefully we'll see you around. Maybe who knows what the future holds for yourself. So we did really enjoy seeing you out there. So thank you so much. Thanks for your time today, Laura.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone who listened and got to the end. Thank you.
Yes,
I
yes. What's
appreciate
the
it.
code word? What's the code word at the end if someone's got all the way to the end?
Um, crystals.
Crystals. Okay. Hashtag
Crystals.
crystals. We'll see who got to all the way to the end. I love it.
Yay.
Thanks very much, Laura. We'll talk to you again soon and see you later, everyone. Bye.